Let me just kick things off. Greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We have a global audience here today. My name is Alyssa Leiden. I am a product marketer here at Dovetail, and I'll be your host for today's demo webinar, specifically showing how to use Dovetail if you're a product manager. I am joined today by my colleague Serena, who is our research advocate extraordinaire. Serena, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, nice to have you all join today. I have a background in user research and kind of human-centered design things and coaching teams on best practices, not just in Dovetail, but kind of how to further your customer centricity culture at large. So we work with lots of teams of researchers, designers, and PMs, much like yourselves, as part of also our customer success program. So if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out. We'll also share some resources at the end of this demo. Back to you, Alyssa.
Amazing. Yeah. If any of you have ever been into a Dovetail community event, you will definitely know Serena's face. We actually just had a meetup yesterday where we had like 50 plus people in the office, and Serena
Yeah.
was there along with our wonderful community lead, Jeremy. If you're not a part of our Dovetail community, please do join. The Slack community is a great place to learn best practices in research and gathering customer insights. But like Serena said, she'll be monitoring the chat with any questions that come up in real time. Feel free to use the Q&A as well to pose your questions. We'll have plenty of time at the end of this session for discussion Q&A. So let the questions fly, and Serena will either answer them in real time, or we'll tackle them at the end. So this session is being recorded, so we'll definitely send it out once we're wrapped up here. And yeah, just super excited to kick things off. So before I just dive into the product, maybe just if you'll indulge me a little preamble, because I've been telling everyone internally here, I'm doing a bunch of demos. I've been really excited for this session, particularly because as a product marketer myself, I've worked with so many top-notch PMs in my career, and I consider product managers to kind of be a kindred spirit to my role as a PMM. And that's because we have to be a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? From one meeting, we're interfacing with the leadership team. You're trying to, get buy-in on your product strategy. That's ultimately going to spell like that commercial success for the business. But you're also in the next meeting getting down in the weeds with designers and engineers. You're trying to get buy-in from them, motivate them, keep them to task and executing against your roadmap. So you have to keep your foot in both like the tactical and the strategic world. So I feel you, I see you, I know the context switching alone can be exhausting as a PM. But no matter what foot you have your world in, whether it's tactical or strategic at any given moment, no matter what, PM is one of those roles where you are expected to be and perceived as the expert on the customer and the expert on the market, so you can build a really great product strategy and execute on it. Our roles, PM and PMM, are ultimately about influence and getting buy-in. We're storytellers within the business. And you probably all know as well as I do that any PM worth their salt knows that in order to tell the best story, you need to keep the customer at the front and center. So that requires just deeply understanding your customer. But I don't know any PM that's just sitting around with a bunch of extra time to go out and talk to customers or consume endless dashboards or usage data or spreadsheets of support tickets. And it's not because they don't want to, right? It's because it's hard to do. It's hard to find that time, not just to, put in the hard yards to go talk to customers, but then transform all of the inputs into those really actionable insights that help power better decisions over time. And so today I'm going to show you how we work with product marketing teams at companies like HubSpot, Paycom, the Mayo Clinic, and others to achieve three key things. One, I'm going to show you how you can use Dovetail to centralize data, all different types of data inputs into your customer, and analyze them faster with the power of AI. I'm also going to show you how you can get quick answers to burning customer questions using the power of Dovetail as a central kind of insights hub. And then third, I'll wrap up with kind of showing you how outside of point in time question and answers, you can stay on top of trends across like mountains of kind of complex data sets using AI as your guide. And so with that preamble out of the way, let's just dive right into Dovetail. I'm going to share my screen now, and what you'll see here is just the homepage for a workspace that we use internally here at Dovetail for demoing. It's a fictional music streaming service we lovingly call Zotify. And so what you'll see here is kind of the login experience once you come into Dovetail, which we call a workspace. And a workspace, think of it as the collection of all types of data that exist about your customer inside of Dovetail, whether that's, a note about a customer, like one particular observation or highlight, or all the way up to like a full-on research report, which we like to call an insight. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the naming and terminology as we go, but let's go ahead and just like set the stage for this first use case on analyzing data faster. So again, let's imagine I'm a PM at this streaming app Zotify, and I know that I need to speak with customers to ensure that we're building and executing a roadmap that meets their needs. But again, mentioned, it's incredibly time consuming. I'm not a professional researcher, I'm a product manager. And so sometimes it feels very daunting to like, how do I get started making sense of all this data? I might be doing interviews, I might be looking at research reports, I might be digging through feedback, and I might feel like I'm missing out on a key insight. And I just don't have time to do all this manual work. I need to focus on getting to the insight so I can influence action, get buy-in, and deliver products. So what I would start if I had the kind of the cycles to go through like a research project or get feedback from customers is I might start setting up a project inside of Dovetail. And so I've gone into Browse, and you'll see we have a fully customizable, flexible folder organization structure. We see organizations do this differently just depending on how they consume data, right? It could be based on product, based on team, maybe based on persona or geography. But suffice to say, you can kind of organize your own kind of projects and data how you like. I'll click into this one kind of sample project here, or sample folder, and you'll see a bunch of different projects within these folders. Think of a project as exactly that, like a research project where I'm collecting a bunch of different data types to analyze. From here, you can see kind of different slices and dices of how I can organize projects. You'll see these industry reports are probably PDFs that I pulled from the internet, and I can come in and do some analysis on these reports. Maybe I want to look at some NPS data. I can upload a CSV of NPS scores, and it is presented to me in kind of a table view that I can kind of slice and dice. This is great for folks who are used to working with like Excel or any other type of spreadsheet tool. But what I really want to dig into here are the interviews, because this is where we get a lot of really rich feedback from customers. And so in this particular project, I have centralized, I say I've done about 20 plus interviews with Zotify customers. And so you'll see I can import these calls or any data type inside of Dovetail, either by just a simple drag and drop, or I can integrate directly with Zoom and pull those calls from Zoom into my project. Same with documents from Google Drive or OneDrive, or just browsing on my local computer. Lots of big things coming here in the world of integrations and getting data into Dovetail and making it very seamless and automatic. So we're super excited to continue to improve this experience to automatically get these types of data into Dovetail. But what they all populate as is what we call notes inside of Dovetail. Think of a note as kind of an empty container for the raw data that you're getting about your customer, right? In this case, they're calls. In some of the other examples, I was showing reports, CSV files, whatever that might look like, right? Within the structure of a project, you have notes, you have highlights, which are kind of those key moments that you pull out of the notes as like, these are things I want to flag as important to further analyze. Both in isolation and across the whole project. And then finally, we have tags. And tags, think of them as kind of like another way to categorize all of the different data that you have inside of your project, both to kind of analyze within the context of the project, but also across the entire workspace. I'm going to show you what that looks like later on in the demonstration, but just to kind of show you that you have a lot of options here right at your fingertips to be able kind of organize the highlights and insights you're ultimately going to pull from this project. So let's just dive into our conversation here with Freddie. So once I uploaded this video into Dovetail, it was automatically transcribed. Dovetail provides transcription for 40 plus languages, and that number is growing constantly. You can set the language when you import. You can let Dovetail auto detect the language as well. Or you can just set it at the workspace level that every call is in English or in Spanish or whatever, whatever language you might be conducting interviews in. So you'll see here that I've got the transcript ready to go. And before I show you kind of how you can interact with this data, I'm just going to kick off some of the AI features and let them do their work while I show you some of the more like manual analysis features. So from the transcript, I have full kind of text editing capabilities inside of here. I can add more context if I need to directly within the interface. I can also I can go in and highlight. If I think this is a really interesting piece of information, I can quickly highlight it. If I want to apply some sort of tag, I can do that as well. So like this is an iTunes tag. So I have an iTunes tag I can apply here. I can quickly comment on this, say I want Serena to take a look at this highlight. I see looks like Magic Highlight is doing its job. I can go ahead and comment and bring my stakeholders into this highlight, or say that Freddie shared some personally identifiable PII or personal information that doesn't comply with my organization's data privacy rules. I can quickly redact that text. I can just redact the transcript. I can blur the video as well. And so you'll see here that text has been redacted. And when I play the video, you'll notice you'll see that that text is redacted.
I think
and then
I
the
got
video
started in
has
it
been
when
blurred as well. So that's all great. If I want to go in and again, put in the hard yards and do that manual analysis, awesome. But again, I'm a PM. I have no time. I'm getting pinged by a million different stakeholders asking for updates on anything that might be in flight. And so what I've done is I've gone in and let Dovetail's AI kind of take a first pass at this call transcript for me. And it's done in two different ways. The first is our magic summarize feature, which essentially runs through the transcript and presents out a kind of a TLDR, a summary of the call with chapter breaks. So that if I wanted to say, click into this day-to-day usage of Zotify, I really want to understand how our users are using the app, I can click on that section and I'm automatically brought to that section in the transcript. You'll also see throughout the summary is our options to edit. This is you'll see this throughout the demo. Our AI development strategy is really centered around this idea of human in the loop. Let AI take that first pass at kind of parsing things out and presenting kind of a first pass at how to organize this data. And then you can come in and add more context or delete or add things as you need. You're in total control of kind of the outputs. AI is just kind of taking that first pass and accelerating your efforts. We also do the work, kind of that manual work I just showed you of highlighting and tagging. We also have that automated through AI. So I've allowed Dovetail's AI to go through this transcript and suggest to me these 10 different highlights in this case that the AI thinks is relevant and I might want to save for further analysis. As I scroll down, you'll see some of them also have tags applied to them. These are tags that already exist I've already identified them within the project, or maybe they're workspace level tags across the workspace. But Dovetail's going in and automatically assigning tags. And again, I have full control here. I can accept this highlight. I can reject it. If I think another tag needs to be added, I can go in and add some more. So again, I'm in full control of how this data is going to be parsed out. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to accept all of them. I think they're great. And so now I have essentially gone from 25 calls or plus to now that are just raw transcripts to now you can see they're fully highlighted, summarized, and ready to be analyzed kind of in aggregate. So now once I've done that across all of these calls, I can now start to do some analysis in these different highlight views. We offer a bunch of different ways to kind of massage the data or present it for analysis that makes sense to you. But I'm going to show you two specific ways. The first is through the table, similar to what I showed you in the NPS scores. You get this kind of grid style view or this table style view. If you love working in Excel, this should make your heart sing, because now you have every highlight across all of those different notes within the project laid out here. And you can see the columns here kind of show what tags are associated with those highlights, if they're associated with any other insights or reports in the workspace. And then if you're a power user of Dovetail and doing some metadata around fields, you can also filter based on that. But for example, let's say I'm really interested in understanding how much YouTube is coming up across this project, because I want to look for ways to differentiate against YouTube. So I can quickly add a filter. Let's do it based on tag is YouTube. Great. And so now instantly across all of those calls, those 20 plus calls, I now have 9 different tags or different highlights associated with that tag. And I can really quickly and easily now bundle all of those highlights up together into a sizzle reel where I have, in this case, 5 different users telling me about what they think about YouTube as it relates to Zotify. I can very quickly download that reel and then embed it in a Slack message or put it in a PowerPoint slide or share it in a Jira ticket, wherever my stakeholders are, to give them really quick evidence to help them understand how our users are perceiving us, in this case, against YouTube. So just a really quick way to take essentially a bunch of different highlights in aggregate and quickly get down to the key insights to answer the questions that you're hoping to answer. Great. The other view I want to show you here is the demo canvas. So for those who are more, visually, they love like big visuals, sticky notes, kind of a digital whiteboard experience, the canvas view is perfect for this, kind of like, doing some affinity mapping or trying to pull out different trends. You'll see here I have this reference picker that has all 288 highlights within the project that I'm doing here. I can, filter down based on, different tags, different notes. If I'm a power user and using fields, I can do things like by persona and things like that. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to just add all 288 to the canvas, just to kind of show you. And I can, play around with these and move them around like I would sticky notes and say like a fig jam or something like that. But again, 288 highlights, as you can see, is going to get really big really fast. And I just don't have the time to parse through all of this. So let's let Dovetail take a first pass at this. And what this is another chance for that human in the loop AI, where I'm asking the AI to go ahead and take a first pass at parsing through all of these highlights, these tags, and then presenting out some signposts, right? Some directionality of what all these different highlights, what are the main themes that are emerging. And then what it will do is it'll present out to me kind of these different groupings that then, again, I still have full control over, whether it's, moving sticky notes around, kind of slicing and dicing a little bit more. What this does is removes the effort for me to try and like look at this wall of text and understand what's happening, and instead get those kind of key points that I can dig into a little bit more. All right, so you'll see we're done here. You'll see the different kind of groupings, Dovetail suggested titles for these groupings, and then you can kind of dig in and start to look at the different highlights or sticky notes associated with it. Again, I have full control over this, so I can rename certain groupings, so I can rename them if I want. I can click into these boxes and I can move things in and out. Right, I still have full control and can add new groupings, play around with the data so I can kind of come to my own conclusions. All right, so let's go ahead and let's find a really good, interesting tidbit that I can use. These are all really good, actually. Let's go ahead and go with onboarding. Let's say onboarding has been a really big initiative for Zotify. And this is something I really want to dig into more. I kind of have a similar flow here where I can instantly pull together all of these highlights into a shareable kind of sizzle reel to just shoot out to stakeholders immediately. Or I can now start to build my kind of my findings or my report and start to not just look within this project, but now look for other evidence across the workspace to help bolster kind of this insight that, we're having an issue with onboarding. So let me go ahead and create an insight, which again, in Dovetail speak is essentially just like a research report that I would share with stakeholders. So let's just call this onboarding for now. Create onboarding. And I will go ahead and go to the insight to kind of show you what it looks like. So you'll see that highlight reel has been added automatically. And now I have a lot more tools to play with to create this kind of really compelling and, action motivating sort of insight report that I can share with stakeholders. I can, using kind of Notion-like commands, add things like, different layouts, cards, dividers, tables. I can, visually make this more visually appealing for my stakeholders. But what I want to show here are the references, right? And this is where, if my organization is using kind of global tags, I can start to look across the workspace and find other tidbits of information that exist in other projects to pull into this insight. So if I go over to tags, for example, let's see if I have one on onboarding. Let's go ahead and let's say I want to add in some more context around like YouTube, right? I know that we have a lot of really interesting insights into YouTube, in this case, 9 across the workspace. So let's just go ahead and insert that. And now I have an instant link into all of the areas in the workspace where we mentioned YouTube. And so this is kind of the power of tags. And these are insights that have come from other projects potentially, or other notes that now I'm using to really kind of paint a more complete picture of how my users are feeling at any given moment. And so once I have that insight, what I can do is, let's see, let's go back to onboarding. Let's say I have my insight fully ready. I can now publish this and then instantly share it, either by calling people into Dovetail, by adding them and sending them an email to come in and check it out. Or even better, I can copy the link to the insight and then paste it wherever my stakeholders live, such as in a Slack message or on product board. And this automatically embeds the insight into that artifact, which gives it visibility across my organization so people can really keep the customer at the forefront. So that's the analyze data faster use case. Let's move into kind of discovering insights about customers, or kind of answering those burning questions. Because while the workflow I showed you dramatically reduces the time it takes you to get from raw data to insight, especially if you're leveraging our AI features. And I would love to be talking to customers all the time as a PM. The fact of the matter is that I don't have the time to constantly be doing discovery and research and analysis. But I do know that there are other people in my organization who talk to customers, right? I know the sales team is talking to customers, success, support. They're getting rich insights every day from our customers. We also might have, dashboards and spreadsheets and other things that might exist all across the business. But I don't want to waste time tapping people on the shoulder, digging through different repositories of information like Google Docs or Confluence or wherever. But at Zotify, since we're using Dovetail as kind of our central customer insights hub, I can now leverage the power of AI to quickly answer burning customer questions across any data type that exists inside of Dovetail. And so now I'm back at the homepage, and instead of going into projects, I can just go directly to Magic Search and start to ask questions, right? Using a kind of semantic search capability, I can go ahead and go in and ask, what do our users think of onboarding, right? And so what Dovetail will do is not only return every data point that is relevant to the meaning of that query, but it's also going to summarize all of the different data points into a really concise kind of TLDR of what the data inside the workspace is saying. In this case, it's 143 results across 9 different projects in Dovetail. And you'll see some bullet points that have links to evidence that back up that claim. I can click into the evidence and be directly taken to the artifact. In this case, it's an insight. Let's click into this one here, a conversation with Beck, where I can go in and kind of, validate or get more information. But let's just say for the purposes of this demo, I think this is great. I want to create the insight. And now you'll see all of those links, those evidentiary links, have been moved over into the insight, whether it's the highlight reel or just the text of a highlight or a link to an insight. This is now instantly shareable with my stakeholders, the similar workflow that I just showed you in the analysis piece. So now I can quickly go from question to a great answer that that is presented in such a way that my stakeholders can consume much faster than if I had to go and gather that data myself. And I'll just note too, going back to human in the loop, that you have control over the outputs of this search. You'll see that we have a bunch of different filters that you can apply. You can get really fancy and filter based on tags or different persona fields. Let's say that I wanted to just look within the past 6 months. I can do a quick kind of date filter. So I can slice and dice this data and have that control, and instead let AI kind of do the work of compiling it and summarizing it for me so I can quickly share it with stakeholders. All right. That one was obviously a lot faster because now what we're talking about here is kind of leveraging the already existing research or existing insights that exist within the organization without having to do a lot of that manual analysis work. But both of those use cases, the analyzing data and answering questions, are really think of them as point in time, right? I have a question, I have to go find an answer. There are a couple different ways I can get to that answer in Dovetail. The third use case I want to show you, and this is the last one, is a bit more nuanced, and it's kind of like a more always staying on top of trends and always on program. Because as a PM, I'm constantly perceived, and I want to be perceived as the person who has the finger on the pulse of our customers and how they feel about our products at any given moment in time. And this is really difficult to achieve in practice, because again, it requires that I'm constantly looking at dashboards and like consuming endless spreadsheets and pulling out themes and being able to have that knowledge right at the tip of my fingers, which is again, time that I just don't have as a product manager. And so we saw this need in the market, especially as it relates to kind of these always on feedback channels, think like support tickets or NPS scores, or these sorts of things that are always on. And so we found a really great opportunity to let our AI kind of, again, take that first pass at thematically classifying mountains of always on feedback. And we released this earlier this year, a product we call Channels, which essentially is kind of an always on sync with, support ticket tooling and others to kind of uncover those themes buried in mountains of data. So I'll show you what kind of creating a channel looks like in Dovetail today, just to show you. Let's just do this demo. In this case, let's say I want to do support tickets, but you'll see we can also interpret data as churn reasons or NPS feedback, product reviews, app reviews. We're working on more different types of kind of AI models that can interpret that data. Let's use support tickets for this. And then you'll see once I create the channel, I can connect a data source. We have integrations with Front Intercom, Jira, Zendesk. And what this means is once you set up the connection, you have a continuous stream of data coming from Zendesk into Dovetail, and our AI is always on analyzing that data as it's coming in. We also have a read-write API currently out. So if you want to build your own custom workflows or get an engineer to help you build those custom workflows, that is totally doable as well. All right, I will go back and show you an already built out channel. And so in this case, these are support tickets across, in this case, just about a 4-month time period, 4-month time period. And what you'll see is that Dovetail's AI has gone in and thematically classified all of these different, all these support tickets into these groupings. So our AI has suggested that, our AI has suggested that about 40 support tickets have identified unexpected playlist order changes. Let's go ahead and click into this one. So once I click into this theme, you'll see I get a summary similar to the magic search summary that I showed you in the last use case. kind of summarizing or giving you the high level of what this theme is describing, along with a quick sentiment score, negative, neutral, and positive. What's great about this is that if I were to log out and say, come back a week later to look at this theme, not only will I have the summary here, but it will also identify what has changed over time. So I can kind of understand how those trends are evolving in real time. I always have control of the data and can scroll down and do some verification or pull out certain moments to dig in more. But what's really great is I have really great control over any theme inside of Dovetail in a couple of different ways. The first is, let's say I want this to be a little bit more granular. I want to see if there are more themes hidden in here. I can ask Dovetail to split the theme. And what this is going to do is go in and take another pass and offer more suggestions on how we can further refine this theme into a couple of different subgroups. And you'll see once it shows those different themes, I have the option to remove themes. I can add my own. And what this does is once I split, then this is telling Dovetail's AI to continue to monitor new tickets coming in and look for these sorts of themes and categorize them appropriately. I can also merge certain themes. So for example, let's say I wanted to merge the first two. These feel really similar to me for some reason. I can just simply click merge, and I can create like a unified theme that's then kind of training Dovetail's AI to kind of look for this broader theme. And then finally, you'll notice at the top here, we had this visualization. This is really great if you're looking to kind of see some sort of visual representation of how certain themes are trending over time. So for example, let's say our team has specifically been trying to fix a lot of the login troubles that users have been reporting. We know it spiked in like February, beginning of March. We released a quick fix, let's say in the middle of March. And now I just quickly want to dive in and be able to see how it's trending over time. Looks like support tickets, we have some blips here and there, but overall it's gone down since that initial spike at the end of February, beginning of March. So really just depending on how you like to view this information, you're able now to kind of work with that data and slice and dice it and understand those trends at a high level. And then finally, you do still have control with the ability to filter based on date ranges. So you can kind of time box certain things depending on what exactly it is you're looking for. But overall now what I've done is taken, again, mountains of spreadsheets in the form of support tickets and been able to kind of pull out those key trends and themes. So I can, understand how our users are perceiving the application. What are some of these kind of little moments of pain that could eventually become problems for our users that I can try and head off at the pass. And ultimately it brings me closer to the customer so I can make better decisions on their behalf. All right, and with that, that concludes today's demo of Dovetail. Again, showed you a lot there, so I'm sure there are lots of questions. So Serena, going to pass it over to you and see if there's anything in particular we want to chat about.
Yeah, we had lots of great questions here in the Q&A, answered those that I could, and included some links as well. So feel free to check out those resources. We did have someone ask about, if you need to convince your CPO to onboard Dovetail, what value props should one convey to show how the tool will support and add value to PM's work? One way is a lot of things we listed today, but and this is someone asking as a non-PM to onboard the tool on their behalf. And that's something we see very commonly where often, it might be someone on the research team or, research ops team who's interested in helping these other teams get into Dovetail. So some of the resources, in addition to everything Alyssa covered today, and also this recording will be available. I also did share that we also have pages on our website geared towards explaining the value prop for each of these different roles. So I can link it in the chat as well, but I linked it in the Q&A box where we have one actually specific to value props for the product manager role. And then I also linked out that we have a proposal builder page. So if you want to kind of have some help building the slides to do the pitching and getting the buy-in internally, we have this fun, it's kind of like a swipe left, swipe right to kind of look through the different features and functionalities and kind of narrow down what is important to you and your team. And then that'll plop that all into, a PDF for you to be able to then, share that internally. And our sales team can also help you with that. So I'll go ahead and also just share those links in the chat here for anyone who's missed it. And we also did have some interest too. Someone was saying, Gong is a big tool. Maybe Alyssa, you could speak to this, that their sales team is using. And it can be really challenging to basically have to ask for access to the sales calls. So they were asking, if we have Gong on our roadmap for the integrations. I did share a little bit about the calendar integrations to come, but if you want to speak to that and share a bit more of the thought behind that, I think that could help since I know a lot of companies use Gong for CX and sales teams.
Totally. And that's such a relevant question and something we're talking about all the time here at Dovetail. As Serena mentioned, we are days away. It feels like we're super close. We're doing some internal testing on our Google Calendar integration, Zoom integration, so that as soon as any call is complete, it's automatically uploaded into Dovetail. But we also know that there's a whole ecosystem of tools that other teams like to use to record and manage their calls. And so Gong is definitely on our radar, something the team is considering, especially as we think about what a Dovetail use case could look like for a salesperson, right? Using Dovetail to get quick context on certain accounts, or to use Dovetail for training purposes or onboarding purposes for new sales reps. Just getting them context faster so they can focus on closing more deals. That is a future that we envision for Dovetail. And it has a knock-on effect for every team in the organization, because if we can get every team to set up those connections to Dovetail, and let that data flow in, it's mutually beneficial for everyone, right? PMs, researchers, designers, they would all love to sit on every sales call. And now Dovetail gives them the one place where they can go kind of see that information, do that analysis as needed, and get to insight faster. So definitely something, it's on our radar, and the ecosystem in general is a really big focus area for us.
Yeah, we realize there's so many different tools, not just that you're using, but your customer facing teams are using. So finding ways that we can easily bring that all into one place for you. And yeah, those calendar integrations will also just make my life easier. So after a customer call, I don't have to remember to go back in and do all the imports. It'll just be right there once it's ready. We also have a question here around AI and asking, like, does Dovetail use uploaded data to train its AI? Are users able to control whether or what data is shared in that way? And how does Dovetail handle and protect proprietary company data? I can share some links, but Alyssa, you can also kind of speak to our kind of security and AI stance. It is something that we take very seriously, but I can also share some links in the Q&A box as well.
Yep, that's right. Yes. So we at Dovetail take security very seriously, just writ large, but especially when it comes to AI and using customer data. So much so that we guarantee that we don't use any customer data to train our models. We run pre-trained models across the platform. So your data is proprietary only to you. We also select models for the task at hand. We don't just use one blanket model across all of the different features I just showed you. So whether it's summarizing, like the search summaries or the transcript summaries, or whether it's classifying, like the magic cluster or channels, those are specific, like purpose-built AI models for those tasks. And then all those models run in our own infrastructure. So there's no data exposure to any outside entities. So everything is very much enclosed inside of the Dovetail environment. And Serena, you said you were going to share some links. There's a lot more information on this in our Trust Center as well.
Yep, just shared that in response in the Q&A box. And then let's see.
I see an interest in the Jira integration. That's a really common integration, especially for product managers who are using Dovetail and want to get quick, like get a highlight reel into a Jira ticket is a really common flow that we see. We do have a link to how that integration works in our help center. I'm sure Serena is going to throw that in there now. Yep, you're on it.
As for joining our Slack community, our community lead, Jeremy, does review the request forms, so you should be getting an invite soon. But yeah, let us know for any reason you don't see that in the next few days.
Yeah.
And the channels tab. Do you want to speak a bit to channels? We've got some interest in channels.
Yes, channels is currently in beta. So if you're interested, please do let us know either by contacting us directly or maybe after the webinar, we can connect with you. I think it's Elena. We can get you into the program. It's for current Dovetail users. So if you're currently a Dovetail customer, you can get access to the beta. But pretty soon it will be available shortly. It's imminent where it will be available on all Dovetail plans. We're super excited for that.
And I dropped a link there if you want to take a little peek.
Yeah.
Amazing. Let us know if you have any final burning questions. Otherwise, I also wanted to share a few resources here. We have Dovetail Academy, which we've rolled out in the last like 6 months, which is another great way if you're getting started in Dovetail or you have other team members who want to kind of learn the ropes. This is, great short learning modules with some videos, some articles, some homework assignments to get you started from scratch if you're creating your first project, bringing in your first data, to getting more advanced in your analysis and creating highlight reels and sharing that out with stakeholders. So that allows you to kind of move at your own pace. We also do have, especially if you're at a larger company and want to work with a sales team or customer success team, especially in like the, procurement process, we know that can be a whole thing, especially with security reviews. Feel free to reach out to our sales team for that support. And I'll drop that here in the chat, but it's also going to be part of the follow-up email too, where we'll share the recording too. And anything else we can assist with, feel free to reach out to us. Our team is always more than happy to help you get the most out of Dovetail.
Amazing.
And then for anyone who is based in the Bay Area, stay tuned either via the Slack channel or our community page where we are posting all the time about different events we're putting on. Some of them are in person, like the event last night with user interviews and ADP list. And then we also do have some that are virtual as well. So that one you could have joined virtually too, but that's our community page to plug that again.
Oh, good. All right. Well, if there are no more questions, I'll just close by saying we do offer free Dovetail for free. We have an account, no credit card required. You get access to one project, and you get access to most of the magic features I just showed you. So the transcription, the summarize, the highlights, the clustering at the project level. If you want the magic search capabilities, you would have to upgrade into a professional account, which is only $29 a month. But please get started, try it out. You can sign up today. We'll be sure to send links in the follow-up email later today. But if you ever have any questions, please do feel free to reach out either via the community or by contacting us on our website. And thank you so much for your time today. Great discussion, great questions.